In 2008, a team of geophysicists aimed ground-penetrating radar beneath a stone platform in Egypt. They found a grid of granite walls 8 meters underground, stretching across several hectares. They published their findings. Then, the publication was halted. The structure they detected sits beneath the Hawara Pyramid, south of the Fayum Oasis. 25 centuries earlier, a Greek historian had walked into the building above it and declared it greater than the pyramids. Not as great, greater. His name was Herodotus. He called it the Labyrinth. His exact words, "I have actually seen this work and found it greater than can be described. For if anyone put together the buildings of the Greeks and displayed the sum of their labors, they would seem lesser in both effort and expense to this labyrinth. Even the pyramids are beyond words, and yet the labyrinth surpasses even the pyramids. 3,000 rooms, 1,500 above ground, 1,500 below. 12 courts enclosed by walls, with doors facing north and south. Hieroglyphs and paintings on every surface." Herodotus walked through the upper level himself and described it in detail. The underground level he was forbidden from entering. The Egyptian custodians told him it contained the tombs of the kings who built it and the sepulchres of sacred crocodiles. He was not permitted to descend. No foreign visitor was. For centuries, scholars dismissed this as fantasy. Herodotus had a reputation for embellishment, a structure larger than every temple at Karnak and Luxor combined, with 3,000 rooms and monolithic stone ceilings, sitting beneath a mud brick pyramid that today looks like a mound of dirt. It sounded like mythology dressed as history. But Herodotus was not the only one who went there. Strabo visited the same site and described the ceilings in terms that have never been adequately explained. He wrote that the roofs of the chambers consisted of single stones each, and that the covered passageways through their whole range were roofed in the same manner, with single slabs of stone of extraordinary size, without the intermixture of timber or any other material. He recorded a line of 27 pillars, each carved from a single stone, and walls constructed of stones no smaller. Pliny the Elder estimated the structure was already 3,600 years old by his time. He described it not as a temple, but as something closer to a megalithic city, divided into 21 administrative districts, called nomes. He wrote of columns of porphyry, mazes of paths, ramps, porticos, stairs, and subterranean chambers. And he recorded one detail that no other source mentions. Some of the chambers were so peculiarly constructed that the moment the doors were opened, a dreadful sound like that of thunder reverberated within. Total darkness. Acoustic properties engineered into stone 3 millennia before anyone had a word for acoustics. Pliny marveled that the lapse of ages had been totally unable to destroy it. He was wrong. Over the centuries, the labyrinth became a quarry. The demolition occupied so many masons that an entire town grew up around the site to house them. By the time Flinders Petrie arrived in 1888, the above-ground structure had been reduced to a bed of stone chips so vast that visitors refused to believe it was artificial. They mistook the debris field for natural geology. Petrie measured it anyway. The stone platform extended 304 meters long and 244 meters wide. Every temple at Karnak, Luxor, and the western bank of Thebes could fit inside its footprint. He concluded it was the foundation of the labyrinth, now destroyed beyond recovery. But inside the pyramid above it, Petrie found something that did not fit any standard model. The exterior was mud brick, crumbling, barely recognizable as a pyramid. Beneath the mud brick was a megalithic core of extraordinary quality. Precisely dressed stone blocks fitted so tightly that the joins were nearly invisible. Two completely different levels of technology in one structure. A superb ancient stone core buried under a crude later shell. The entrance was not on the north side, where every other known pyramid places it. It was on the south, near the southwest corner, at ground level. The descending passage had steps with ramps on both sides, as though designed for moving heavy cargo on wheels rather than for human passage. Inside were 3 sliding trap doors, each weighing approximately 20 tons. At the center lay something Petrie had never encountered before, a burial chamber carved from a single block of quartzite sandstone. One monolith weighing over 110 tons, hollowed out to form a sarcophagus chamber, then lowered into a pit cut directly from the bedrock. The interior measured 7 meters long, 2 meters wide, 2 meters high, walls 1 meter thick. Petrie's own words, "The workmanship is most excellent. The sides are flat and regular. The inner corners so sharply wrought that though I looked at them, I never suspected that there was not a joint there, until I failed to find any joint in the sides. And the surface so polished that the hard, flinty sandstone reflects the light of the candle one carries. No inscription anywhere. No name, no hieroglyphs. The sarcophagi contained scraps of charred bone and grains of burnt diorite. Whatever had been placed inside was burned where it lay. Without scattered funeral furniture nearby, even the identity of the supposed occupant would have been permanently lost. Above the chamber, 3 enormous roofing slabs of the same quartzite, each over 1.2 meters thick, extended far beyond the chamber walls. One slab, weighing 45 tons, had been lowered to seal the room from above. There was no door, no passage, no entrance of any kind. The chamber was closed during construction. The only way to place anything inside was before the pyramid was built over it. A room with no door, a sarcophagus with no name, contents reduced to ash, sealed under 45 tons of quartzite inside a pyramid with a megalithic core hidden beneath mud brick. Petrie recorded all of this, and then he turned his attention to the stone platform to the south. He concluded the labyrinth was gone. The foundation was all that remained. For over a century, that was the accepted answer. In 2008, the Mataha expedition tested that conclusion. The team brought together Egypt's National Research Institute of Astronomy and Geophysics, Ghent University in Belgium, and the artist Louis de Cordier, who funded the work. They conducted a systematic geophysical survey beneath Petrie's stone platform. They did not rely on a single instrument. The site was scanned by ground-penetrating radar, by electrical resistivity tomography, measuring the conductivity of buried materials, and by very low-frequency electromagnetic sounding. 3 independent geophysical methods, 3 independent signals. The results converged. A vast grid of walls was detected underneath the flat stone layer. Vertical walls of considerable thickness, connecting to form a massive network of nearly enclosed rooms. The team concluded that what Petrie had identified as a foundation might in fact be the roof of a still existing labyrinth beneath it. The findings were released by the National Research Institute of Astronomy and Geophysics at a Cairo workshop, published in the NRIAG Scientific Journal in the autumn of 2008, and presented at Ghent University in October that year. Radar, resistivity, and electromagnetic sounding had each detected a monumental underground structure exactly where Herodotus said it would be, 25 centuries after he described it. Then, the Egyptian Supreme Council of Antiquities, under Zahi Hawass, ordered the team to halt further communication of the results, citing national security. Publication was delayed by 2 years. When the findings were finally released, the data was clear. Archaeological features spanning several hectares, vertical walls averaging several meters in thickness, a grid of gigantic proportions, made of a material consistent with granite, sitting 8 to 12 meters below the surface, and one detail that has received far less attention than it deserves. The underground structure was oriented 20 to 25 degrees off the axis of the Hawara pyramid. A different alignment, a different era of construction. A natural geology objection is available. The Fayum Depression sits on Eocene limestone, and limestone bedrock develops karst voids and bedding plane fractures that can produce strong returns on geophysical instruments. But the Mataha signal does not match that profile. Karst networks are irregular. The Hawara grid registered as straight-walled, intersecting at near right angles, with consistent thickness along each segment. The lower level detected by Geoscan in 2015 displayed the same regularity. Whatever the radar, resistivity, and electromagnetic surveys are responding to, the geometry is rectilinear at a scale that natural dissolution does not produce. In 2015, a Polish expedition reconfirmed the underground anomalies using independent ground-penetrating radar. Strong signatures on the north, east, and south sides of the pyramid. That same year, satellite-based remote sensing by Geoscan systems detected 2 entirely separate subterranean levels. The upper level sat at more than 18 meters depth, the lower level at 40 meters. The 2 systems did not connect. Separate complexes, stacked beneath the same ground. The scale defied easy comparison. The total underground area measured approximately 433,000 square meters. 31 chambers on the upper level, 32 on the lower. No 2 chambers were the same size. Each level followed a descending pattern, largest to smallest, as though arranged by a deliberate organizing principle. The largest single chamber measured over 1,800 square meters. The total length of passageways exceeded 1.4 kilometers. No one has entered these chambers. No bore drilling, no probe, no camera has ever reached them. Beneath all of it, confirmed by ground-penetrating radar, by satellite, and by 3 independent teams across 17 years, sits a structure larger than anything above ground in Egypt, aligned to a different axis than the pyramid built on top of it. 3 ancient witnesses described it. 3 modern expeditions confirmed it. For more than 25 centuries, no one was permitted to look inside. In May 2026, that finally changed. Egypt's Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities authorized the first official excavation of the site. An Egyptian-led mission run through the Fayum Antiquities Directorate with the Supreme Council of Antiquities. The opening work is not digging but drainage, cutting diversion channels to pull the water table down far enough to reach the level the radar mapped. Nothing has been recovered yet. The ground to be cleared is measured in hectares and in meters of standing water. For 2,500 years, the labyrinth was described but never entered. It may be the largest unexcavated structure on Earth, and for the first time, the spade has been put to it. The only question left is whether the diggers reach it before the water does. If you want to support deeper research and found this journey as fascinating as we did, subscribe to Ancient Epochs for more.